Thank you for joining us for the next episode of Checked Out, the official podcast of Lancaster Public Library. I'm Theodore.
And I'm Amanda.
And we're here with you again to discuss what we're reading right now. Like we said last month, we have a little bit of a format change. So we'll have episodes like these, but then later in the month we'll have more focused discussions, interviews, main events, things like that. And we'll tell you about that at the end of this episode here. So what's been new with you, Amanda?
Oh, just getting into summer reading.
Yes.
It's like we said last time too, that rules most of the year, even though it's just for one season.
Yeah, it does feel like everything revolves around it.
And we picked up something pretty cool for adult summer reading. So that's been the focus right now.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
You want to switch things up a bit and maybe talk about what you're reading first?
Sure,
I didn't
we
even
can
realize we were falling into a pattern of
it did kind of default to you, which is fine, because then I just get to hang out for a little bit. But so what I'm reading right now is actually, it is called The Elephant Vanishes. It is a short story collection by Murakami. And I've wanted to read Murakami for a really long time. Because he's kind of like the juggernaut of all of modern Japanese fiction for the most part. And other Japanese authors that I've read, like the book Audition, which great movie from 1999 as well. I've always liked the writing style. I actually, when I was talking to our boss about this, I found that Murakami specifically, but also, and I forget the author's name of Audition, but there's, we've talked about this before.
Kitamura?
No, there's two Auditions. There is the Katie Kitamura. I love that book. I'm talking about an older one.
Older one. Okay.
Yeah. So if it's called Audition, I like it.
Okay.
But there's kind of an Irish quality to the writing of, again, like my limited sample size, where like it's very poetic yet very direct, saying a lot with very few words. And I've been kind of surprised by that. I need to dive deeper into like a lot more Japanese fiction than just two authors, but there is a quality there that's kind of interesting.
Okay.
And Murakami's a great writer, but I will say it's a little weird, and it's a short story collection, so I had to take some notes with me. So I wanted to focus on three of the stories, and they kind of run the gamut. I will say overall, it's absurdist, very dreamy, kind of Vonnegut type qualities, but not. And I know some of his actual novels go more into the sci-fi realm, and the stories I'm focusing on not as into the sci-fi realm, definitely more of like a magical realism, and weirdly sexual at times, but not in like smutty romance way, which you know how much we love those. Just kind of weird. Like I'm reading about this man's fetishes. And also very slice of life. So I would compare it to like a few animes that I like. I like Clannad, I like Barakamon. Very similar to that feeling when you're watching a slice of life anime, where it's kind of slow pacing and plotting. Occasionally there's a little eerie feeling in the back because like something's going on, but we're just not going to talk about it. It's kind of got that vibe as well, and those are the things that run throughout, but the stories themselves, not so much. The first one I read was actually The Wind-Up Bird. So there's a short story from '86 called The Wind-Up Bird and Tuesday's Woman, which actually is the original short story he wrote before writing the Wind-Up Bird Chronicles. Okay. So it's about 8 years earlier. My understanding, it's slightly different. I haven't
fleshed it out into a whole novel.
Okay. Quite a big novel too. I think that's a decent sized book.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but this is as slice of life as it gets. Really, it's a guy. He's 30 years old. He's unemployed. His wife works, so he's just kind of the house husband right now, the dream, and he just kind of has to go about his day, and that's really the plot, except for two strange things that happen throughout. One, he gets a phone call from a random woman, and she wants 10 minutes of his time to, it's not get to know each other, but to come to an understanding. And that understanding 5 minutes into the phone call is just weird, again, Murakami fetishes. And I mean, to his credit, the main character hangs up the phone. and goes on with
Okay.
his day. But now he's like paranoid of the phone. He's got this like fear. I'm sure there's an actual term for that, of the phone. This is touched on occasionally more throughout, and I know is a big focal point of the novel, but it does kind of just feel like it comes and goes, besides the occasional like, oh, that phone call happened. So then later in the day he has to look for his cat. And again, weird Murakami fetishes. He's going through his back alley. There's a 16-year-old girl. She asked to bum a cigarette. He then agrees to sit with her in her backyard to see if the cat goes through that alley. And as he's falling asleep, because it's very sunny out, and for some reason he's sitting with a 16-year-old girl and he's 30, she starts whispering about how she's always wanted to cut up a dead body, specifically a dead body, because she thinks when she gets through everything that's in there, there'd be like a hard core. That's that. That's the interaction. He wakes up, she's gone, and he just goes back home.
Okay, so he's never really been on my reading list just based on reviews that I'd heard from other readers.
Mm-hmm.
When you mentioned a little bit like Irish authors, I thought, okay, maybe I've been wrong. I should give it a try. But now it's devolved into a Criminal Minds episode, and I'm not here for it.
And again, I don't know if in the novel if this character does something like that, but in the short story, it's just here and gone.
Yeah. Well, and I can see maybe in a novel you have more time for character development, that it doesn't sound quite so just like serial killer-ish. And
yeah, exactly. The second one I wanted to focus on was honestly probably my favorite, because it was, I mean, borderline genuinely Vonnegut absurd. How this thing just completely devolved. It was called The Second Bakery Attack. This story starts off with a couple, a newlywed couple, and they both wake up at 2 a.m. They are voraciously hungry, like a hunger that they've never experienced before. And they both go to the kitchen table. They take turns opening the fridge to see if just food magically appears again, like the dreamlike state of his writing. And in passing, as they're talking and drinking beer to fill themselves up because there's no food in the house, the husband mentions that he has never been this hungry since the bakery attack. Which I was hooked. I was like, what is going on here? Here's the best part, that the bakery attack turns out that it was just him and a buddy when they were younger trying to rob a bakery. They had knives, but the owner was like, hold on, how about we do this? Instead of you robbing me, I'm going to sit you down and you have to listen to Wagner, long play, because again, this is set much longer ago, so a record. And if you sit down with me and listen to this record, I'm going to give you all the bread you want. And they do it.
Honestly, bread and Wagner, that sounds like a great evening.
It's fantastic. But his wife is like, oh, you're cursed. See, you didn't carry through the crime. You didn't finish what you set out to do. He cursed you. So we have to fix this. So she gets him in a car. She's like, we're going to go find a bakery. That's why it's the second bakery attack. They drive around Tokyo, can't find a bakery. They find a McDonald's. I'm not making this. This sounds
this thing from a bakery.
This sounds like I'm just making this up. I'm not making this up. She's got a shotgun in the back seat. She's got ski masks. They go into the McDonald's. They put the ski masks on. She has him holding the gun. Like, she seems seasoned, like she's done this before. And she asks for 30 Big Macs. She asks for 30 Big Macs. Not money. 30 Big Macs. He holds the gun at them while they make the 30 Big Macs. She takes them after they make them, pays for 2 Cokes because she just wanted the bread. And they leave. And that's the story. Like, it is a fever dream. Kind of good, though. I did like it. It was well written. Again, I kind of enjoyed it.
I'm assuming that this is the reaction you had after reading them, because I really don't know how to respond. No. I'm just sitting here like,
no.
What kind of mind comes up with a story like that? And what am I, maybe I'm being too English major about it, but when I read something literary, I tend to think, what am I supposed to pull from this?
Exactly.
What am I supposed to pull from 2 delusional people robbing a McDonald's in the middle of the night.
I don't know. Maybe that's the point.
I guess so, yeah.
It's just kind of like, art.
Yeah, good literature is supposed to stir something in you, and I don't know what it is, but it's confusion.
Yeah.
So that's something.
No, it is. And then the last story I want to talk about, because it's about Amanda, is
oh no,
is The Fall of the Roman Empire. It's a much longer title. It's again absurd. The Fall of the Roman Empire, the 1881 Indian Uprising, Hitler's invasion of Poland, and the Realm of Raging Winds.
The destruction of civilization made you think of me, naturally?
No,
okay.
No, it's because this is where the notes are important.
Oh.
The narrator keeps exact notes on each day. He compiles them on Sundays. He literally describes his size in percentage. It was a 30% sigh. In his diary, he's 80% fact and 20% comment to the T. When he writes down a telephone ringing, it's 36 past 2. He has the exact time. He mixes up his dates and times with historical events like Hitler's invasion of Poland on September 1st of 39, which I know you love the World Wars. And finishing his diary for that Sunday, he sits down with a Shostakovich cello concerto. Is that not a Sunday for Amanda?
You're not wrong. But you're never getting any meeting notes from me ever again. So
darn.
It was a personal attack.
That was not a personal attack.
No,
that is a compliment.
Honestly, that one does actually sound interesting.
It was very good.
Not just because of him being neurotic, but it seems like it's building up more of an interesting personality. It's not just a fever dream. It's describing a person.
Yeah, exactly. And you can actually get something from that, because you can tell he's a neurotic, very nervous person. You're not those things. So that's like, the joke doesn't go that far. But because in the background the whole time, that's where the title part about the wind comes in. Mm-hmm. He's hearing this howling wind that's just happening. It's just wind. Mm-hmm. And he's anxious about it the entire time. It keeps coming up and coming up and coming up. Nothing happens. It just subsides eventually. He does say the exact time it subsides. But so it's just kind of a portrait of a neurotic person. And it was good. It was interesting, honestly. There's some other stuff in there I would consider garbage. There's one about a little green man who comes out of a hole in the ground by a tree and knocks on a door, and his nose is really long, and there's definitely some kind of weird Murakami fetish nonsense there. But most of it was very good, and I did enjoy it. And I actually would say, like we've talked about before, if you don't want to read a full novel, I think it's worth at least reading the short stories, because you do kind of get to know the author a little bit.
Sample platter of an author's taste. And then,
I might stop there, though.
Well, no, but it sounds like I run the short story group here, and it sounds like there are a couple that maybe would be interesting to explore in one of our discussions.
I think you would enjoy it, actually. I think it would spark a lot of discussion, for sure.
Yeah, well, the more perspectives you get on a short story, sometimes other readers reveal things that I never would have picked up on. Maybe I'll find some meaning in robbing a McDonald's of 30 Big Macs.
That's what I kept thinking the entire time, actually, was I kept worrying a little bit, like, am I not getting this?
Oh.
Because is something happening that I'm just not picking up on here? Maybe not. I don't know. It did make me think, though, so worth it.
Yeah. We studied under English professors, so we're used to that feeling anyway,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. So how about you, Amanda? What do you have this month?
As usual for me, working on a fiction and a nonfiction book. Fiction is Love and Other Monsters by Emily Franklin, and this is about the stepsister of Mary Shelley. So it's told by Claire Claremont. It's focusing on, her life, but the relationships that they had with Percy Shelley and Lord Byron. And I'm less than 100 pages into both of these books, but it's supposed to be leading up to that summer they spent by the lake that Mary Shelley completely fleshed out and wrote Frankenstein then.
Oh, wow.
But it's just interesting to, of course it's fictional, but getting a sibling's perspective on some of the complicated interpersonal things that you read about with the whole Shelley's and Byron triangle and all the, I don't know,
Yeah.
romantic free love things that they had going on in that villa. And
Don't get us started on that.
no,
that's cool.
I mean, I love kind of darker tinged historical fiction, and this has been really good so far.
So my question on that is how much of it is, and I don't know if you know this, but how much of it is fiction and how much of it is pulled from like a primary source?
You know, I was reading some interviews with the author and then some things, the reviews for the book. It seems like the real life person kept diaries, and then the diary from this summer is missing from her collection.
Okay.
And the missing diary, the very first scene that you have in this book is of her as an older woman and the diary being given back to her.
Okay.
It shows up mysteriously.
Okay.
And so this whole thing, I think, is building up all of their lives and then kind of speculating about what that chunk of time missing from her carefully kept diaries, what happened during that period. So I always like when an author of historical fiction takes fact but then pushes it further. And does some speculation about the person. And I'll be interested to see how the rest of this turns out then.
That kind of reminds me, I can't remember if you recommended this to me, but the Miss Austen show.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of, I mean, obviously not exactly the same, but a similar concept where it's told from the point of view of a family member, a sister.
Yes.
And there are these diaries that, exactly. So I was like, watch that show. It's really good. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit as you were talking about it.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Very cool. I like it.
My nonfiction is called Shakespeare's Sisters, and this is all about women writers during the Renaissance period. That we tend to think of Renaissance writers as being men, that you know, giants of the age in a time of thought and art, but this is all about women who were fighting for a room of their own. The author frames the first chapter as talking about Virginia Woolf and the concept of, even in a time when women weren't being encouraged or given the space to make art, that there were still women out there who were fighting for that place within Renaissance thought, however small that fight might have been. And I've really enjoyed this so far too. Kind of reminiscent of that Blue Stockings book. That I read a little while ago.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm just reading the same thing a little to the left, but it's very good so far.
How's it laid out? Is it telling the story of certain individuals in a certain order, or is it going by the period?
Well, it skips around a little bit, but it is by individual. Each chapter is a different woman, and their lives are sometimes split up into multiple chapters. So we only had one on Queen Elizabeth at the very beginning, but then it's telling other women's stories in pieces as the book progresses.
That makes sense. That sounds actually really interesting.
It's been really good. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I feel like that sounds like something that like Lucy Worsley would have presented on. That sounds right up her alley.
Yep.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I was hearing her voice when they were talking about Elizabeth's funeral procession. So
That's awesome.
Nice. And LPL owns this one.
Okay, perfect.
This is in the system, but not here. You'd have to place a hold.
Yeah, I checked on this one because this is just from our bookshelf. I think my wife picked it up at some point, and we don't have this, but I might ask Sue if she can add a copy. If not, because I don't want to commit Sue to anything, we'll just link some other Murakami's. But yeah.
Sounds good.
Very cool.
Right, that's what I'm reading right now.
Very nice. So that kind of wraps up that portion for us. But we are going to be doing a second episode on the history of summer reading and how it ties into the local history of summer reading through some newspaper clippings as well. Some updates on what we're doing here. And I don't know if you noticed these little guys too, but we'll talk about these because this was really fun.
Sneak peek there.
Exactly. So thank you for joining us for this part of this month's episode.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the big book sale?
We do want to talk about the big book sale. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't want to miss that because
no, you really don't.
As the name suggests, it is the big book sale.
Massive. And really the only place you can go into and spend like $20 on records and leave with like 40. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, so that'll be June 20th through 22nd over on F&M's campus. You can find the hours for each day and the address for the building on campus by checking our website.
Yep, and there's ample parking there as well. It's a really easy space to get into, and it was great last year as well. Such a good turnout. I definitely want to thank the volunteers because
absolutely
it is pretty much entirely volunteer run.
There's no way to overstate how big a role our volunteers play in this. We could not do it without them.
Absolutely not.
And we're so grateful that they put this on every year.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So join us for that.
Yeah, check that out.
Exactly.
But for now, we're checking out of Checked Out. Please check back in next time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.